Good morning, everyone. It's been a while since I've done a early morning coffee chat. I guess it's not super early for some, but here we are. I'm still sipping on my coffee that I made at like 7 this morning and I'm still enjoying. So just topped myself off. But I wanted to come live today and talk about bravery because it's a topic that's been rattling around in my brain for ever, but has really come to the forefront recently. So, anybody who's known me for any length of time knows that I own a children's theater and we just celebrated 10 years. So, a decade of my life has been dedicated to the cornerstone idea of stretching creativity and bravery muscles. And anybody who's ever worked for me knows uh, how important it was for me to even drill that phrasing into them as a brand ambassador of who we are and what we do, stretching bravery and creativity muscles. And I do pride myself in the fact that I'm often perceived as a bold risk taker, um, that I'm brave, that I will do things and try things that most people won't at a pretty rapid pace. Um, One of the things I realized though is I think that there are times where I have pushed my edges, so to speak, where I, at that time, was stretching my bravery muscles. And then I got brave at that thing. But I also learned accidentally the posturing of continuing that to seem like a brave thing. And it was probably a brave thing for some people, but for me, it was no longer pushing my edges, right? But I could still remember what that felt like. And so I was living in this like idea of, um, like I said, pushing the edges when it no longer actually was. Um, the other thing is realizing that bravery comes down to perspective or the perception of bravery, I guess. So recognizing that I like for people to see me as a brave risk taker. That is that is something that I enjoy being perceived as. And yet I am often very cautious and slow to action sometimes. And so recognizing that some of the bravery was really posturing. And then some of it was I had to build up the courage, right? Sometimes people will see the bold action and think, oh my goodness, uh, this came out of nowhere. No, it came from me wrestling out that decision for weeks, months, years sometimes, and then all at once taking the action. And all they see is the all at once taking the action. So they think, oh, she's so brave. Um, and again, I think I was a little bit addicted to that feeling and so I would hide sometimes the fact that it took me a long time to wrestle out a decision or to take action. Um, Not that that's a bad thing. I think that that's one of the ways that I do have a strength sometimes in decision making is that I will sit and wrestle with ideas for a while. But sometimes I can get stuck in fear, and owning that sometimes I'm stuck in fear is hard. I also just had conversations with several people about bravery recently. Um, One of them being my partner, Ronan. We just celebrated a year of being married this week, and we are celebrating 10 years of a relationship next week, which is exciting. Um, but also recognizing that from his perspective, he shared with me that he does see me, and one of the things he values about me is my boldness, my willing to take risk, my willing to be bold. But I told him, well, first of all, I thanked him because it was a compliment, working on that too. But then also talk to him about how bravery is all subjective. And though I deeply appreciated that he saw me that way and valued that in me, that in some communities I'm in, I am one of the least brave and least likely to take bold, quick action, that I am seen as pretty fearful and stuck in inaction. And that's an uncomfortable place to be in a room full of bold, brave people who seemingly are taking brave action all the time. So I'm wrestling with this, right? But then, even in that room, having pockets of people who perceive me, and a colleague, a friend of mine in that room just yesterday reminded me that she sees me as a powerhouse. Not that she sees me, she said, "You are a powerhouse." And she's said that to me numerous times. And I think that I sometimes can get caught up in the comparison to others, that I shrink and I don't perceive my own boldness anymore, so to speak. So that was one place that I had a conversation with Ronan. Another was in this room of amazing women that I mastermind with regularly in a program that I'm in. And my mentor has been, talking with me about bravery and brave action for a while now too. And recognizing that I sometimes am afraid of failure and being perceived as a failure, or waffling, or head in the clouds. So many things I'm afraid of, right? What if I make this bold statement about something I want to do and then I don't get there? And I boldly declared it. Ooh, no, thank you, right? Um, but I've been wrestling with this idea that sharing my journey more openly, the transparency of boldly claiming a goal, a direction, a plan, and then working towards that more publicly, transparently. Transparently, is that a word? Sure, we're going to go with it. And then talking about the ups and downs can be of service to people and service of my own bravery. And then the other part of it, the other flip side of that, is last night I had this epiphany that I often am not brave to share my successes either. I am peeling back layers of people maybe being uncomfortable with success, or my fear of what they will think if I'm too successful, if I make too much money, if I grow my business too large, whatever too much is, right? Rather than uh, my need to be perceived as good and not greedy, and kind to others and mindful of where others are in life and not wanting to hurt them. I think sometimes keeps me stuck in being brave enough to share a lot of my successes and wins too, at least to the fullest extent. I might couch it, I might downplay it, whatever. And so I'm going to be working on exercising both sides of that bravery muscle, if you will, of being more transparent in my journey about what am I striving for? What's working? What's not? Why is it not working? um, because I think that sometimes, like I said, I realize that people see me as a bold risk taker, which I like. But I think that seeing behind the curtain a bit and seeing the wrestling with fear, the wrestling in action and doubt or uncertainty can be of better service and allow for me to move more quickly through those things if I have a community that I'm sharing those things with. And then, like I said, on the flip side, sharing more openly about my successes. Uh, so I'm curious if you've made it this far in the video, where are you boldly taking action in your life, and where might you be stuck in a bit of fear and inaction? If it's something you want to share in the comments, beautiful. Continue the conversation with me that way. If it's something you want to DM me, my DMs are open. But I am curious about other people's journeys with bravery. And the last thing I want to share is I said I had several conversations around bravery, right? And I had a conversation with a close friend last night as well about bravery. And I had shared that my mentor said for her, there's no room for fear in her life. It's something that she won't tolerate. And so when she butts up against something that she's fearful of or she thinks she can't do, she forces herself to take that action. Just do it because she doesn't have room for fear and she won't tolerate it, which I think is beautiful. But her versions of taking bold action and moving through the fear and just doing the thing included examples of like jumping out of a plane, going whitewater rafting when she can't swim. Like I'm sharing a bit of her story that she shared with us yesterday. And as I was recounting this to a close friend, she said, I will never, yes, those things are make me afraid, but I will never go do those. But there are things that I push up against my own edges and force myself to do things that I'm afraid of. And I said, I think that that's what my mentor was saying all along. In fact, she even used that term, like pushing up against your edges, right? And everybody's edges look and feel differently. So, one of the things that I'm going to be working on in my own life, and I encourage you to take a look at in your own life, is where are we comparing our bravery to others rather than authentically sitting with our own fear and courage? And so for some, put like jumping out of a plane is so far, that's not on their edge, that's distant. I don't know, it's very far away. They're not going to do it ever. But what is the thing that's going to feel like you're pushing against your edges? And leaning into that for stretching your bravery muscles. And so I'm going to sit with that and take action in figuring out where in my own life can I authentically push against my edges without feeling like I have to go jump out of a plane if that's really far. The fear of that is too bold or too big to overcome right now. But also being authentic in the risk taking rather than posturing in bravery and saying, look at this brave thing I'm doing, or congratulating myself when others perceive what I do as brave. And I've normalized that for myself, and recognizing that that doesn't mean that that's not in service of other people's bravery. If they see what I did as brave or courageous, to be grateful that I could set that example, but also don't sit on laurels of that, I guess, and recognize when am I actually taking courageous action. So that's a lot of me just verbally processing with you all my own thoughts about bravery. And I think that, like, are we boldly taking action, or are we stuck in inaction, in fear and inaction, it's not an either or. Bravery is complex, right? There are parts of our life that we are probably boldly taking action, and other parts that we're stuck in fear and inaction. So look for those places that you're being brave, congratulate yourself, celebrate that, find others to celebrate that with you, and that and then push against those edges and examine what's keeping me stuck right now. Um, and like I said, my DMs are open if you want to share something that you're pushing against your edges, or if you're feeling brave and you want to share it in the comments, or that's not pushing against your edges and you're happy to share any of the above. Share it. Tell me what's going on. Uh, and I'm excited to continue this journey. All right. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And I'm excited to continue this conversation about bravery with you all. Bye bye.